Welcome everyone to this special explainer from Vibrations and Manifestations. I'm your host, and I am so glad you're here with me today as we dive into one of my favorite tools, the Emotional Guidance Scale. I want to start with a question, one that I'm pretty sure we've all wrestled with. Have you ever been in one of those moods that just sticks to you like glue? You try everything, but you just can't seem to shake it?
Yeah, I know this feeling all too well. It really is like wading through emotional quicksand. The more you struggle and try to think positive, the deeper you sink. And pretty soon you're just stuck, doom scrolling and feeling totally drained.
So today we're going to unpack all of this. We'll start with why we get stuck. Then I'll introduce you to your own emotional GPS. We'll talk about climbing that emotional ladder, how to avoid the toxic positivity trap. And I'll give you some super practical tools before we talk about your next big step. Sound good? Let's dive in.
All right, first up, why do we get so stuck in the first place? Let's talk about these sticky emotions. Why do feelings like doubt or frustration seem to have so much more staying power than joy?
Well, it really comes down to this idea of contraction versus expansion. Those lower vibration emotions, they're all tied to our ancient survival brain. They're meant to be sticky to get our attention. But higher vibrations like joy or love, they feel light, expansive. They're all about growth and alignment. They don't need to scream for our attention, they just are. So, if we know why we get stuck, how do we navigate our way out? This brings us to my favorite part, your emotional GPS. Imagine having a map for your feelings. Well, that's precisely what the Emotional Guidance Scale is. Think of it literally like a GPS for your soul. It's a spectrum of 22 core emotions, ranked from the lowest frequency, like despair, all the way up to the highest, which is joy and empowerment. And here's the T. Your emotions aren't good or bad. They're just indicators, like a blinking light on your dashboard, telling you how aligned you are with your true self. Now, why does this matter so much? Because your emotional state is your point of attraction. It's like a magnet. When you're stuck in fear or doubt, you're basically sending out a signal that attracts more things to be fearful or doubtful about. But when you can shift that feeling, even just a little, to something like hope, you start attracting experiences that match that new, higher vibration. So we've got the map, we know why it's important. Now for the really good stuff. How do we actually use it? Let's walk through how to climb that emotional ladder step by step.
It's a really simple 5-step process. First, you just identify how you feel. No judgment. Just name it. Second, you accept it. Okay, I'm feeling powerless right now, and that's okay. Third, you just reach for the very next step up. You're not trying to leap to joy. Maybe the next step is blame or even anger. Fourth, you find a bridge thought that feels believable, like, you know what, I'm sick of feeling this way. And finally, you anchor it. Put on some music, go for a walk, do something physical to lock in that small shift.
And this brings me to a hugely important point, a mistake I see so many people make. We have to talk about avoiding the positivity trap. Honestly, this is where most people get tripped up.
Look, you just can't jump from despair to joy. It's impossible. The vibrational gap is way too big. And when you try to force it, when you stand in front of the mirror and say, I'm happy, when you feel awful, your entire being just screams, no, you're not. It feels fake and it actually creates more resistance. Instead of that forced leap, you take a gentle step. So, you're feeling powerless. What's a little bit better? Maybe it's anger. I know that sounds weird, but think about it. Anger has way more energy and power in it than despair does. It's an improvement, and that's the whole point. You have to celebrate any upward movement on the scale. So how do we start making this a real everyday habit? Let's get into some simple, practical tools you can use anytime to support your shift. This isn't about adding a bunch of complicated things to your to-do list. These are tiny shifts. Start your morning just by asking, how do I feel right now? Name one simple thing you appreciate, like your coffee. If you're feeling stuck, just stand up and stretch, or take a 5-minute walk. Put on that one song that always gets you going. These small things make a huge difference. Okay, so let's bring this all together. Let's talk about your next empowered step, because this is where the real power lies, with you. If you take away only one thing today, let it be this. You always have the power to choose the next best feeling thought. That's it. It's not about controlling everything, it's about recognizing that these tiny little shifts in your focus are what create massive momentum over time. And really, as Abraham Hicks says, your quest is for joy. That feeling of pure, rapturous joy.
That's your North Star. When you feel that, it's a sign that you have found total alignment with who you really are. It's a journey of finding your way back to that feeling, one small step at a time.
So, are you ready to start using this? To really become the master of your own emotional landscape? If this really resonated with you, I'd love for you to join me for the full conversation over on the Vibrations and Manifestations podcast. In episode 12, we go even deeper with more examples and stories. Thank you so much for your time and your energy today, and remember, be gentle with yourself on the journey.